Step 3 in the home selling process is completing the escrow docs. Now, if you remember, escrow is the company that's at the middle of the transaction. They're communicating with the buyers, with the lender, and all the different parties to make sure that everything is moving forward on track and at the appropriate dates. Once we open escrow, and once escrow receives the earnest money deposit, they're going to reach out to you to see how you would like to receive what's called the escrow opening packet. Now, this can be physically mailed to whatever address you'd like, or they can email it to you as a PDF that you can print and complete at your own sort of convenience. Now, be aware that some of those documents will require not only a wet signature, but actually will need to be notarized, and some can be completed electronically. The big thing that we want you to be aware of is that we ask for you to complete as much of the escrow packet as you can within the first 5 days of receiving it. What I would say is that if there are 1 or 2 documents that are giving you a little bit of trouble, or you need clarification in order to complete those, send back what you have completed, and then we'll just wait and keep those 1 or 2 things as an outstanding document that we can complete later. This will help us to ensure that we don't have any unexpected delays and everything is still moving forward as it should be. Within the escrow packet, there are a number of documents, and as we said, some need to be physically signed and some can be completed electronically. If you need help coordinating with a notary or someone to come and meet you either at your home or at the escrow office, just reach out. We're happy to help you schedule that. Some of the common questions we get regarding documents that can be electronically signed have to deal with the escrow instructions. The escrow instructions are simply a supplemental form that's almost a little bit redundant with the items and terms that are on the purchase agreement. It's required by the escrow company, but again, it's all of a repetition of the same information that's already in the purchase agreement that you've signed. The seller's information sheet is a document where you'll want to disclose any mortgages on the property, any liens, and this is also a time that you would disclose if the property was held in a trust, if there was some sort of probate, or anything that's specific with the ownership of this particular property. The statement of information form is verifying your identity on the off chance that someone happens to share the same name and it's coming up on title or is somehow affecting the ability to sell the property because of somebody with the same name. There are also documents that will apply for anyone who's a non-US citizen. So if that happens to be you, just expect that you're going to need some help in completing those as well. There are 2 other documents that need to be acknowledged by you as the seller that have to deal with selling within California. The first is the NHD, or Natural Hazard Disclosure. You simply have to acknowledge that you received it, and we'll pass that on to the buyers. The second is the 9A report, which is a city compliance form. Now, this applies specifically to Los Angeles County, and it may or may not apply to properties that are outside of Los Angeles County. This includes things like smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, a seismic shutoff valve, and we will walk you through whether it applies to your property or not and what steps need to be taken. Of the documents that cannot be signed electronically and will require a wet signature, the most important is the grant deed. The grant deed is the form that transfers ownership, and this will need to be notarized. The instructions for proceeds form is also a document that will need to be notarized. This is, assuming there are proceeds coming from the sale, your way of deciding how you want to receive that, whether it's a wire or a physical check. If it is going to be dispersed in the form of a wire, there's going to be an additional form that you'll need to sign as well that just verifies your bank account information, making sure that the proceeds go to the right account. There are 2 separate documents that have to deal with taxes. One of them includes a 1099 reporting form. The other has to deal with the Franchise Tax Board. Now, I'm not a licensed CPA, and I'd recommend that you consult your tax professional before completing these documents. And if you have any specific questions, again, escrow is going to be the best contact for that. There's also going to be a form that's an amendment to use DocuSign. This has to be physically signed with a wet signature, and it's basically verifying that you are acknowledging and willing to sign some of the forms electronically. Some other paperwork that may apply is that if this property is part of an HOA or a homeowners association. Now, we are required as sellers to provide the buyers with a complete escrow packet from the homeowners association. This has to come from the management company or whomever is the one overseeing it. It can't just come from you as the owner. Now, the reason we bring this up is that escrow may ask for payment up front so we can get that escrow packet ordered from the management company in advance. This is absolutely the number one thing that delays closing because it can take up to several weeks for us to receive those documents. And we have to be able to provide those to the buyers before they can remove their contingencies. So if you have an HOA, please complete that form in advance and let's get those documents ordered right away. So the takeaway is, if your property happens to have an HOA, let's make sure that we get the HOA escrow packet ordered ASAP to avoid any kind of delays. To recap, most of the questions you have regarding completing the opening escrow packet should be directed to the escrow officer or to your CPA or financial professional. If you have any other questions, our director of operations or our team member or the agent that's working with you are more than happy to help. Just reach out and we'll make sure that you are fully supported. Completing the escrow docs is step 3 in the home selling process.